A beautiful November afternoon for the Bills at Rich Stadium. Winds gusting from 20 to 50 miles an hour with a little snow and rain. Some crisp blocking and tackling, and you have some miserable visitors from Arizona.
When you're winning the way you are, but when it's a close game, you'd rather have it sunny and beautiful. But they found out what Buffalo's all about. This is Buffalo Bills weather. Buffalo Bills football.
That it was. Hello again, everybody. I'm Ed Kilgore. Welcome to Sports Extra. Now, the Bills' 45-14 blowout win over the Phoenix Cardinals, the Bills' 7th straight, so they remain tied with Miami atop the AFC East at 8-1. Now, in the past 3 weeks, the Bills have outscored the opposition 117-21. Bills wide receiver James Lofton will join us live in just a little bit. You know, it was a bad day all the way around for NFL fans in Arizona. In fact, a bad week, as the NFL says it's going to take away the '93 Super Bowl it had awarded to Phoenix, because Arizona voters rejected a paid state holiday in honor of Martin Luther King. Now, do you think the NFL should move the Super Bowl? Should Arizona lose the '93 Super Bowl for voting down the Martin Luther King holiday? Kind of a controversial question. Not this was a game where the win was such a factor that all 59 points scored in the game were scored in the east end zone. It was a physical and kind of a psychological factor. Here you see one of the officials, hats blowing across, but yes, Marv Levy says the weather was a factor.
It's such an impact on the game. You had to score when you're going with the wind, and then if you get behind into it, as it did with them, score can mount up as it did.
We kind of felt like it was a close game, and I've never seen the weather. Not to say that we would have won or anything else, but I've never seen the weather just totally dictate a ball game like it did in that fourth quarter for the Bills.
We had seen the weather report the night before, but we had no idea that it was going to turn out to be a day like this, and apparently it worked in our behalf.
Well, it did, but again, you have to block and tackle better than the other team, and the Bills did that as well. The first big break in the game went to Phoenix. And, of course, the Cardinals, the Bills' first NFC opponent this season. The Bills going into the win in the first quarter. Cardinal cornerback Cedric Mack blitzes and clobbers Kelly untouched. The ball is loose. Mack returns it to the 7-yard line. Jim talked about it later.
The guy just got there quicker than I anticipated. I didn't know he was coming either. He hit me from this, open side, but it was a weak side pass. I was looking left, and he came from the right. And it's just one of those things that maybe I'll take a quick look at him next time.
Kelly actually almost made the tackle. Then Johnny Johnson takes it in, and the Cardinals have a 7-0 lead. Now the Bills again going into the win. Thomas bursts through a big hole, cuts behind Andre Reed, and goes 43 yards. However, on this play, that would hurt because watch as Reed twists his ankle. Luckily, x-rays on the ankle negative, but Andre Reed watches from the sidelines for the rest of the game, but it looks like nothing more than a sprain. Now, late in the first quarter, the Bills pick up a big first down going into the win to keep the drive alive. Kelly, another outstanding day despite the conditions. He'll go to his tight end here, Keith McKellar. This is on 3rd down and 6 at the Bills' 40. This play covers 22 yards. Then on the same drive in the second quarter, 3rd and 9, Kelly, the little screen to Don Smith, 15 more and another first down. Don Smith coming up big on 3rd down this afternoon. Then Kelly goes to McKellar from 18 yards out. This is the touchdown that ties it at 7. The Bills caught Phoenix in man coverage on McKellar.
Oh, I love it. I mean, when I see that, my eyes just light up, and I think Jim's eyes light up too, and, going to do my best to get open. Even a free safety, it doesn't matter. I mean, I see myself one-on-one. I feel like I got a good chance of getting open.
All right, now another big play. Still 7-7 in the second quarter. Phoenix now driving into the wind on 3rd and 5. Bruce Smith coming from the left side now, one of 2 sacks on the day, gets just enough of quarterback Tim Rosenbaugh. So the Cardinals are going to have to punt. Rich Camarillo, who just had a nightmare of the day, bobbles the ball. Steve Tasker comes on, forces the fumble, then hangs around a little bit and says, hey, that ball's still loose. He recovers it. And then the Bills have the ball at the 1-yard line, and what a surprise. This play hardly ever works. The fake pitch and then the touchdown pass to Butch Roll.
I look at it like this. We run the ball effectively, and Kenny, Jamie, and, other guys who's in there running the ball, we score that way also. And when that play is called, it's been open the last 8 times. So, if they play it, I just have to do my best to get open, to try and get away from the defender.
All right, so it did work again. Again, that's 8 consecutive touchdown passes caught for touchdowns by Butch Roll. Now the score 14-7. The Bills gained possession at their own 29-yard line with 57 seconds left in the half. At first, Kelly was ready to run out the clock after a short gain had the clock down to 24 seconds, but then Marv Levy decides, what the heck, let's go for it. Ted Marchibroda calls the play. Now, amazingly, Phoenix is in a 3-deep zone, but Kelly hits Don Beebe. This play covers 49 yards. Beebe in for the injured Reed explains.
Jay Taylor was number 27 was on me, and they were playing a deep zone, and I just got behind him, and Jim threw a great ball, and kind of caught me off guard because it was there so quick when I turned around, and you know, I thought I was going to break away from him, but he kept clawing at me and finally got me down.
So on the very next play, with 15 seconds left in the half, Kelly hits Steve Tasker from 25 yards out. Tasker's first NFL touchdown.
I didn't draw double coverage, that's for sure. And they had run, I think it was the same coverage they just run the other way to Don Beebe. And I don't think they were planning on us going for the touch right away. I think they were going to, with just a few seconds left, I thought they were going to get us to settle for 3. But we came out and threw the exact same play again, and it worked out great.
That it did. So instead of 14-7 at the half, it's now 21-7. But the Cardinals, keep in mind, have the wind in the third quarter. They drive 74 yards and score to make it 21-14 with half the quarter left. Then the Bills drive 64 yards into the wind, using up 7 minutes, 34 seconds and the rest of the quarter. I'll talk to James Lofton about that in a little bit. He had 2 great catches in that drive. That leads to a 25-yard Scott Norwood field goal. So early in the fourth, it's 24-14. Now the Cardinals in trouble. They have to go into the wind, 10 points down. Rosenbaugh is intercepted here by John Hagee, and that will lead to a Kelly to Beebe touchdown. Kelly's 4th TD of the day. It's 31-14 Bills. Then Johnny Johnson held to 66 yards on 20 carries by the Bills. Fumbles. Ex-Cardinal Leonard Smith forces the fumble. Leon Seals recovers. And twice, Camarillo, who is one of the NFC's best punters usually, hits punts that go into the teeth of what is now a gale as the wind is picked up late in the game. One of them covers 12 yards. Another one covers 10 yards. And this, of course, does not help the Cardinals' field position very much. Now, Kenneth Davis, who is in for Thurman, caps the day with this terrific 13-yard touchdown run. And Davis says there's a reason for his slashing running when he comes in late in the game, replacing Thurman.
With Thurman being in there all the time, and when I do go in there, I feel like, you know, he got a standard that's set so high. And what I want to do is, you know, I just want to get up there. You know, I don't want them to feel that, you know, they done came down another step when I go in. And I just try to maintain that at all times.
The Phoenix Cardinals blew into Rich Stadium with the NFC's top rusher in Johnny Johnson. But the weather and the Bills' blizzard defense held the Phoenix rookie to just 66 yards. Shane Conlon with 5 tackles and Cornelius Bennett with 7 led the way, as the Cards were limited to just 127 total yards.
You know, everybody's playing team ball now, and as long as we can play team ball, it allows us to work together and to just go out and go after people.
Over the last couple of weeks, the Cardinals have gotten a first-hand look at the top 2 teams in the AFC East, and the vote is pretty well split on who's the better team, the Bills or the Dolphins.
I think both teams are super quarterback-wise, and I think that Buffalo gets them up here, though, don't they? Yeah. Buffalo knows how to play in the tundra.
And the Bills players and fans seem to revel in that fact, while the Cardinals, like most birds, headed south. Old Man Winter and the Bills, just too much for them on this day. Mike DeGeorge, Sports Extra.
All right, he's a receiving legend in our own backyard, and this year he is very much a featured part of the Bills' offense. Receiver James Lofton joins us next. There were people that thought your career was kind of on the downside, but before you got here, but obviously, as we see today, that is not the case.
Well, the thing that you have to do, you have to believe in yourself, but you also need an opportunity to play. And coming here, I was afforded that. I got a chance to learn the offense last year and then got a chance to start at the beginning with training camp this year.
Now, we just saw a couple catches there. I thought one of the keys to the football game was in the third quarter when you had to go into the wind. You were just 7 points up now, and of course, Phoenix still has half the quarter basically to maybe do some more damage. And what was said in the huddle? Was anything that you were obviously very conscious of that?
Well, there was a quiet determination, and we also felt the snow hitting us in the face. So we knew that we had to produce, and the weather conditions were things that the players up here are practicing for the last years or however long they've been up here. So we knew that we could muster up enough professionalism to make the most out of a bad situation.
You were used to the bad weather, obviously, in Green Bay, but now coming here as one of the LA Raiders in '88, was the weather psychologically a little bit of a factor because the Bills obviously really hung one on the Raiders that day?
Well, I remember that we rolled into town Friday night. We came out to Rich Stadium on Saturday that afternoon, and we practiced, and it was a gorgeous day, probably about 38, 40 degrees. And the next day, I remember coming out of the tunnel for pregame warm-ups, and I ran my lap around the field, and I went back into the locker room. I said, I don't have on enough clothing. And it was cold, and it was tough on our team. We had some players who had played well in cold weather before, but the bulk of our team was used to sunshine and tans.
All right. Well, I remember Tim Brown had a very rough afternoon that day. I thought you had a touchdown here. We're going to take a look here at the pass interference call. You probably were thinking the same thing, huh?
Well, the guy had inside position on me, and Jim let the ball go, and he was on my back. And sometimes, you know, you're jostling around with the defensive backs, and they just get in the way more than what they need to once in a while.
That's one of those things where you know coming over the middle there, you're about to take a shot. You're going to pay for it.
Well, you figure you're going to get hit, but, I mean, what the heck? You're out there, you got all those pads on, and if you can flinch at the right moment, you don't take too much of a blow.
All right. Well, our question tonight, James, and this is kind of a controversial subject, but I'd like to know what you feel about this. The NFL first says the Super Bowl is going to be in Phoenix, and now the voters turned down a Martin Luther King holiday, and now the NFL says it will not play the game there. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it was a very courageous step by Commissioner Tagliabue to make that statement, and I think a lot of the players around the league would also sympathize with that, because you feel that, you know, you're just being slighted a little bit as a black person. So for him to stand up and take that stand is something that's appreciated by quite a few players around the league.
Well, I'm sure, well, actually, about 60% of the players probably are black, but I get the feeling from talking to some of the guys that just about all the players would agree with you.
Oh, yeah, I definitely think that also.
All right, James, best of luck next week against the Patriots, and thanks for coming down.
Thank you.